Ashen is a smaller scale Souls-like made by a studio called A44. It's one of the first titles that got snatched by Epic Games Store. It released on Steam a year later. As a person that likes challenging games, it was an obvious choice for me to finally give Ashen a chance. I like to see what different companies can do with Souls-like formula and if they will try to twist it in some curious ways. I guess that's enough for an introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, this is delayed review Ashen. This review is based on spending a total of 19 hours in game, finishing the game as well as its DLC, Nightstorm Isle, on a standard difficulty. I have experienced the game on Children of Cisna difficulty, but I haven't finished that playthrough. I acquired 32 achievements in-game, which translates to 94% achievement completion. I have played and finished all Dark Souls games, as well as first Neo, and I will be using them as a point of reference. The story of Ashen is crafted in a very interesting way, paying an homage to Dark Souls series as well as drawing strongly from mythology. The first cinematic acquaints players with the history of this world. It is very reminiscent of the From Software introductory cinematics and I love it. What's important here is the symbolism. It feels like A44 crafts the mythology of their own with the titular Ashen, a phoenix-like creature dying and its three final breaths that become the three golden ages of light, each age ruled by different kind of creatures. The theme of light and darkness is key in this story. It's not only represented in the narrative but also in gameplay. Player's main goal is to restore the Ashen, so it will shed some light on the world that fell into darkness. The plot develops through tasks that player is asked to complete. On our journey we are going to meet a cast of characters, each with their own personality and goals. Unfortunately, we will not explore their motivations too deeply. Each notable NPC is there to offer some sort of a journey that focuses on one aspect of their life. So Jokel, our first companion, wants to live off a curse that plagues his bloodline. Vorsa, the huntress, asks you to hunt for different kind of creatures in order to find cure for Bataran, her love interest. There's also Flokir, an inventor, or a playful fisherwoman, Elia. Their voice actors did a great job in making each character distinct from each other. Every notable NPC once met will start a questline which in the game is called a journey. The game will split those questlines into main journey and side journeys. In order for the player not to get lost, every task is detailed in menu where we can track our goals and progress. The experience is designed in a way that most of the side content can be done while doing main story stuff. Task locations are close to each other. A44 encourages players to complete the whole story, not only the main plot. And the rewards are actually meaningful. There is no leveling up in Ashen. The biggest HP or stamina increases come as a reward for completing a main or side journey. We are also able to unlock new talismans this way. More on that in gameplay section of this video. The plot is decent. It didn't invoke any strong emotions while I was playing the game, but let's be real, not every game needs to do that. The main story as well as optional journeys are there just to push the player forward. And that's enough. I have to admit that I was more invested in the vast potential of this world, the lore behind different races and bosses, and the events from the past. The actual tasks I was supposed to do felt more like a filler. If you want to quickly describe Ashen without using the word Souls-like, I would say that it's a third-party action game. Its combat system focuses on utilizing stamina meter. There is a resource called Scoria, which is lost after dying. You can regain it after accessing the place where you died. If player dies 2 consecutive times without regaining Scoria, then he loses it. The game is more difficult than your typical gaming experiences. Yeah, I think that would be a good short description. The overall design of the game can be described by one word: simplicity. There are no in-depth systems here. Even though this is not an easy game, the pains of losing all your Scoria are alleviated by how much Scoria is granted to the player in later parts of the game. Also, there is not that many upgrades to buy. Okay, if you want to upgrade many weapons, it can be expensive, but I guess most players will choose 1 or 2 weapons to upgrade fully, and after that they will be done. It leads to a situation when in the last third of the game I just used excessive amounts of scoria to overstack myself with throwing spears and potions that increase my damage reduction. There were no moments where I would decide to go and farm some scoria in order to get a little bit of an edge before venturing further. I never needed to do that. It can be perceived as both a pro and a con. People that dislike Souls-like experiences but want to try it will feel more free to explore the game and die from time to time. The hardened fans of challenging games might feel like the stakes are too low to care. It was definitely my take, especially during the second half of my playthrough. As soon as the adventure starts, players will notice an NPC following them. One of the main distinguishing features of Ashen is focus on co-op play. Your first companion will be AI based, but after some time an option to connect with another human being will be added. There's an option to play with a friend, or just leave the game open for some random adventurer to join you. If you don't want to play with strangers, then you can opt out from multiplayer and finish the story with an AI companion. And there is even an option to play alone without any followers. Remember though that the game was designed with co-op in mind. There are rock formations accessible only through group effort, as well as doors that require 2 people to be opened. And one more thing here, Steam charts told me that there is around 100 people playing Ashen at the moment of publication of this video. Even though I left an open option for some random person to join my adventure, it never happened. So if you don't have a friend to play with you, then I guess you'll play with AI. I did it, I finished the game this way. It's possible, albeit sometimes frustrating because AI is incredibly unreliable. There are a few potential AI companions that we will meet during our adventure. Each one offers a journey, a chain of quests to complete. Finishing subsequent steps in a follower's journey will make that follower level up, so he or she will be stronger the next time we choose them as our companion. It's a very simple yet effective way to encourage players to take part in side missions. Also, each one of those NPCs will become an inhabitant of our village. Yes, in Ashen, player will have their own settlement. Vagrant's Rest, our base of operations, will start as a barren piece of land. After claiming it, players will go on to pursue other objectives. With each new inhabitant and each new milestone of their journey, the settlement will get bigger. Players will start to notice that the construction of a new building has begun. With time, the landscape of Vagrant's Rest is going to change. More buildings will be built. It's a nice touch to see how our actions help to rebuild this fractured world. Our settlement is a visual representation of our in-game progress. There are no choices given to the player in terms of building. Each AI companion joining the city also gives us some new ways to upgrade our character. I was very careful not to call this game an RPG, because it's not. There's no skill sheet, leveling up, choosing different conversation options. As I said before, our character will get more HP, stamina, and sometimes some new talisman from finishing journeys. There are also black and white feathers, a collectibles that add a minuscule amount of either HP or stamina. It's an additional incentive for wandering off into some optional areas. The relic talisman system is the feature that's reminiscent of a talent tree or something similar. Talismans are minor upgrades to our character. They vary from passive HP increase, faster stamina regeneration, more damage dealt the lower HP our character has, things like that. We can use 4 talismans at the same time. Relic is a major buff to our character. There's only 1 relic slot. In theory, there are some options for crafting and interesting builds with this system, but in reality, our options are very limited. Speaking of limitations, trading is also very limited. First of all, player cannot sell items. It's mind-boggling why developers made it this way. We will end up with a lot of stuff we won't use. The choice then is to stash it in a container or throw the stuff out. The chest in Vagrant's Rest seems like it has a large capacity, but close to the end of the game I actually ran out of space. The items like armor and weapons that we will find are unique, which means once lost you won't be able to reacquire those. It's just bad. Ashen offers its players a small world to explore. There are only a handful of zones. Each zone, after being accessed, is open for exploration. Player is incentivized to search for new stuff because every item is visible from afar as this glowing white marker. Sometimes it's just a consumable, but sometimes it's a new weapon or armor piece. Some of them are quite well hidden. People that like to check every ounce of game's world will be pleased. Exploration puts a big focus on jumping and climbing to get across obstacles. Our character cannot swim, so if we fall into deep water, there's like 5 seconds for us to slowly drift towards shallow waters or our protagonist will drown. One more thing to add about the game's world and its structure. As I said, it's not big. Even though the zones are open in a way that allows us to explore them freely, the order in which we will access each zone is forced. Players cannot choose which land they want to visit next. The only deviation would be if you have a DLC installed, because it offers an additional place to visit around halfway through the main story. There is a system of checkpoints so characteristic to soulslike formula. In Ashen, instead of bonfires, we discover ritual stones. Each time we die, our character will respawn at the last stone we interacted with. As players progress through the story, the ability to fast travel will be unlocked. Okay, combat. The fighting system in Ashen might feel like it's pretty bare bones. That's because it is. Players can switch between 3 weapons from their fast access menu. One-handed weapon which can be paired with a shield or a lantern, two-handed weapon and a throwing spear. Outside of the two-handed, one-handed split, weapons from the game can be categorized either as axes or maces. Axes offer faster attacks, crit chance and lower damage, while maces offer higher sustained damage with slower attacks, bigger stun chance and no crit chance. All axes use the same animation pool. Maces have their own slower animation pool. That's it. In combat we can of course dash, target enemies, block attacks with shield. And all of the time we play with our stamina as a most crucial resource. Once stamina ends, there is no way to block, dash or attack until it refreshes at least a little bit. So as a standard in Souls-likes, keeping an eye on stamina bar, learning enemy attack patterns, recognizing when to strike and when to get back is crucial. Itemization in this game is in general not very engaging. Armors cannot be upgraded, so whatever piece you are wearing, it will stay this way. Here, the choice is between the damage, stun reduction and stamina cost plus stamina regeneration penalties. Heavier armors give more stamina penalties for greater damage reduction. You can make an argument that you can try to offset it by equipping a specific talisman to reduce the penalties, which is true, but in this day and age I would consider it a standard practice. You know, to give the players at least some sort of agency in finding a way to create a build. Weapons are more problematic for me. Your first weapon can be used for the whole game. In fact, any weapon is viable throughout the game. The only requirement is to upgrade it. It's great, isn't it? Actually, in my opinion, it's not. Every weapon in the game is optimized to provide a very similar outcome in terms of damage per second. So, an axe that strikes a little bit faster will always deal less damage per swing than a mace. Then, between all the axes, there are the ones that deal less damage, but their crit chance and stun are a little bit higher to offset lower damage. The axes with higher damage have lower stun and crit chances. And the same goes for maces. A mace with higher damage offers less stun chance. So as long as you pick a weapon you are comfortable with, just upgrade it to maximum level and you are set. And of course it can open up some potential for theory crafting and build making. For example, if you want to maximize your damage output with Ukoto's Mask Relic, you should go for a single-handed axe, because it will let you swing faster, therefore you will build your 5 stack of orbs quicker. But I really think that this is minuscule and the whole system could be much greater with a simple addition of a single affix to each weapon. For example, each third strike deals plus 50% damage. or an ability to deal 10% damage to surrounding enemies, maybe some sort of lifesteal. I know that implementing these solutions might mean more coding and more work, but in my personal belief it would improve the game's depth and dramatically improve its replayability. I can accept the way A44 designed equipment in Ashen. I still think it's a missed potential. Let me add that since they do not differ from each other, having more than 30 weapons feels like too much. 10 or 15 combat tools presenting more varied stats would be enough. But I guess it's more about skins, not the stats in here. The enemy variety is definitely on a lower end when compared to other Souls-likes. Most of the foes are humans or human-like creatures. Many of them also use similar animation sets. I'm gonna say the same thing I said in Neo. While the game would benefit from more enemy variety, I'm okay with what we have right now. The game is not long, and having to learn new attack patterns all the time would be tiring. I would just like to see maybe 2 more bosses and at least a couple more enemy types that are not humanoid. In the Souls-like genre, the bosses are usually a highlight of the whole experience. An ultimate challenge. Well, the first 3 bosses of Ashen were a letdown for me. I one-shotted them. While Amiren was incredibly well designed, she died too fast. The first boss, Ukoto, is an awful introduction to boss fights in this game. So after the first 3 fell, I was unimpressed. Then, the next great adversary I met presented something that I love, a difficulty spike. I think I died at least 8, maybe 10 times before downing him. To be honest, it was mostly due to a lot of ads spawning during the second phase, but it was good. Last 2 bosses are definitely harder than previous ones. They even have 2 separate phases. If you want to compare it to Dark Souls, especially Dark Souls 3, the boss fights of Ashen are incredibly simple, but at least they can offer some sort of challenge. Even despite your AI companion tanking some of the hits so you can get some free strikes. Ashen does not have various difficulty options. There are only 2 modes, the standard one and Children of Cisna mode, which is unlocked after beating 3rd boss for the first time. Children of Cisna difficulty greatly decreases players' health and stamina. And that's pretty much it. It does not add any other substantial changes to the game. Well, there is one additional scene in the last cinematic as a reward for beating the game. After finishing the game on normal mode, I started the Children of Cisna playthrough, but after noticing almost no changes I quickly gave up. The game is not that interesting for me to play it 2 times. I guess making Children of Cisna an equivalent of a New Game Plus would be a much better choice.
That delicate chord has led me to this forsaken isle.
When it comes to DLC, Nightstorm Isle, it's done very well. The whole experience is very similar to main game in terms of quality. It explores and expands lore from the base product. There are some new armors and weapons. Nightstorm Isle introduces new enemies. Some of them have new movesets. The game changer comes with the addition of healers. A group of foes can now have a dedicated healer among their ranks. That one enemy type drastically changes the way players should approach combat. Healers should be eliminated first because they can bring their comrades from the brink of death to full HP in a matter of seconds. It forces players to scan the surroundings first before engaging in a fight. The other way of dealing with it is to pull enemies away from the group and try to deal with them one by one. In general, it's a fine addition. Nightstorm Isle also offers a new boss fight. I liked it. In terms of difficulty, I would say that Riak is the easiest of the harder bosses from the game. I really appreciate the visual style of Ashen. The graphics are simple and kinda minimalistic, with lower amount of details as well as more blunt textures. Characters are faceless, which creates a distinction from other titles. The color palette is less saturated, adding a lot of grayness to the environment. It is complemented by a lot of dark caves and tight corridors, places where players have to use their lantern in order to see anything. It feels like we are fighting for every grasp of light. A44 proves that you do not need a big budget in order to create something interesting as long as you have a strong, cohesive art direction. The darker tones engulf the players for most of their journey. Overwhelming shadow creates this sense of sorrow and depression. It sets the mood of a decaying world, a world where light faded away. So then, when we finally start to discover some radiant places, it immediately fills us with hope, brings positive emotions. That's a great example of storytelling through visuals, and it's, in my opinion, one of the strongest points of Ashen. Music and sound work in the game are standing on a decent level. I actually like the main theme of the game. The calm, positive piece playing in Vagrant's Rest is also a really good addition into the title. The music is designed to be complementary to what's happening on screen and yet not to draw too much attention. The few moments when it's noticeable happen during the cinematics. Combat music is also good. Each boss has his own theme, which is a nice touch. As I said before, voice actors did a very good job giving NPCs some personality. In my 19 hours spent with this title, I got only one crash. This is a good score in terms of game stability. I encountered only a few glitches, mostly connected to weird animations. I also can't remember any frame drops occurring during my playthrough. The way sliding is coded might be a problem to some people. You see, in the newer titles it's usually forced on some specific areas. In Ashen it's tied to the angle of terrain. If a mountain, a rock, declines really fast in height, then its surface is slidable. As a player, you should be able to recognize which part of terrain will make your character slide from them, but there will be moments when it will actually surprise you. It might lead to some cheap deaths or unexpected problems during combat. The AI companion is pretty stupid and therefore unreliable. Sometimes it will get stuck on some terrain, sometimes it will drown or fall into the depths.
Oh my god, stop bro, I'm stuck! Can you help me?
There were occurrences of me asking my AI friend to assist me with the climb to a higher place, and he would never come. What's mind-boggling is the fact that there is no easy way to cancel the waiting animation. You have to wait like 10 or 15 seconds until your character will recover from the animation. That's a mistake on developers' end. Still, I was able to complete the whole game with that AI companion, so it's definitely doable. With the current amount of players in the game, it's really hard to find a player for co-op adventuring. If you want the co-op experience, you need to invite a friend. Do not count on some random person popping up. If you want to connect with a specific person, you and your friend need to use multiplayer filter. After doing that, one of you just needs to generate a 6-figure number and make other one type in the same number. Also, you have to be in the same place in the game's world. You can't connect inside Vagrant's Rest. Each time you will visit the city, you will get disconnected. According to the official Ashen website, there is no crossplay. And if I understand correctly, Epic Game Store versions of Ashen use their technology, so there is no way to connect between Epic and Steam. Another great point to have 1000 storefronts on PC, eh? Anyways, I asked a friend of mine that got the game to try out co-op play. Unfortunately, we were getting disconnected quite often. Maybe it was specific to our case for some reason, but if you buy the game with co-op experience in mind, it might be really hard to execute. This is a part where I will look over some of the most recent Steam reviews. A reminder, I do not consider my opinion as superior. I'm doing it to confront my views with other people's opinions. At the time of publication, the game sits at the score of 70% positive opinions out of more than 2000 user reviews. So it's barely holding to that mostly positive category on Steam. I wanted to see the general sentiments players share about the game, but it turns out that they cannot agree on anything. Well, most people can agree about the lack of enemy variety and weapon variety. And even in negative opinions, the art style of the game is praised. So let me just show you a couple of reviews I want to discuss. Firstly, it seems like my friend and I are not the only people that had problems with connection. This review states similar problems and there are some other posts about it. If you are getting the game for co-op play, keep this in mind. Check it and refund if it does not work for you. This is a well-formulated review. I agree with many points the user states. Ashen exploration is compared to Legend of Zelda games. The atmosphere built by the minimalistic graphic style is praised. The reviewer also noticed that the game opens up more after the first boss fight, which is true. This is an interesting review. In short, the user praises the atmosphere and world building, but bashes combat system and weapon variety. There is this weird point about some weapons having special abilities. I think it's a mistake because I haven't encountered any special affixes on equipment instead of maybe picking up an axe or mace that was already upgraded. You can read in summary that the user wanted to recommend the game, but in his opinion the cons outweighed the pros. I'm just going to say that I had a very similar battle with my own thoughts. And one more thing here. The reviewer states that aiming was painful because his relic was getting in the way of his targeting. I had the same problem with the orbs spawning above my head. And this will be the last review I will show you guys. Let me just say that I agree with everything this user says. Well, maybe outside of an open world RPG genre. I would argue that it's not an RPG and the open world tag might also be misleading. Other than that, I'm fully agreeing with the rest of this opinion, even with the score. 6.5 out of 10 is something similar to what I would give in the game. There are 34 achievements in Ashen. If you want to go for 100% completion, you will need to complete the game on Children of Zizna mode. You will unlock it after beating third boss. So for completionists there is a choice then. Finish up normal mode playthrough doing everything you can on this difficulty and then just try to rush through hard mode, or replay the game on Children of Zizna's difficulty and do all remaining achievements there, which probably will be a pain. Also, you will need a DLC installed because there are 3 achievements tied to Nightstorm Isle. Are there any missable achievements? No. The game offers you a way to revisit previous locations so you can come back and complete any challenges that you have missed. A significant portion of the trophies is awarded for finishing the main storyline and completing all side quests. Then there are 4 achievements to get for killing a specific animal. A rabbit-like creature, a deer, a crow/bird, and a big hulking creature called Romar. There are 2 tougher enemies to kill in the first zone, a brute on an island and a rock creature hidden in a cave to the north. Killing them is also rewarded. A44 does not force players to collect every single piece of armor or weapons from the base game, which is nice. There is an achievement for equipping at least once every relic. Most relics are acquired by defeating bosses. There are a couple of them that are hidden throughout the game's world, so players will have to find them. The DLC, Nightstorm Isle, offers 5 new armors to acquire. They are kinda cool because they are the outfits that our AI companions wear. They also change players' appearance while equipped, and all 5 of those uniforms need to be acquired in order to unlock a trophy.
Is alive and needs your help.
I would describe Ashen as one of the simpler Souls-likes. Its atomization and combat system does not offer a lot of depth. There are a few boss fights and enemy variety is lacking. The combat system is bare bones. It does offer a solid, easy to follow storyline. A minimalistic approach to its visuals, which just shows that you do not need a big budget to construct something unique. There is this nice aspect of building up your settlement while progressing through the game. Even though you will travel to zones in a linear manner, there is a small open world aspect as you can explore each zone as you wish. Character's progressions is tied more to completing tasks than acquiring scoria/souls, which makes it less frustrating if you die 2 consecutive times and lose it. Ashen invites co-op play. Do it with friend. There is not enough players active in the game to encounter other people reliably. AI companions while brain dead can help you from time to time. I know that this is not a game for everyone, and that this title is definitely skippable, but I recommend this game. Hey, I want to thank you all for watching this video. If you liked it, press thumbs up, subscribe and maybe leave a comment. If you didn't like it, press thumbs down and definitely leave a comment. I'm curious of your opinion. Let me ask you a question about your Souls-like preferences. What are your favorite elements of this genre? So, that's all from me. Bye.